9:23. Welcome back to BT Vancouver. Another beautiful day. Well, some people might be going back to work very soon in BC in a very different workplace. Some businesses, such as hair salons and retail shops, were given the green light to reopen yesterday by the province, which is raising a lot of questions about health and safety. Joining us now to answer some of those questions is HR expert Debby Careau. Good morning, Debbie.
Thanks for having me, Mary. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So let's start with employers. What are some of the obligations right now for employers as they think about inviting their employees back into the workplace?
So as you said, as we all re-enter the workplace, it's going to look very different. And the health and safety implications are definitely elevated. So from an employer perspective, the bar is higher. And they're going to see so many different things, starting off with social distancing is here to stay, which is going to make the workplaces look very, very different as employers accommodate the requirement to keep everyone healthy and safe. So that's going to mean everything from potentially your desks are spread out further in the office, so you've got the 2 meters apart, how you take the elevator up to your office. There's probably quite a bit of management around how many people can be on the elevator, decals on how far you have to stand away from each other. Employers now have to make sure that they're providing PPE, and depending on your workplace, that can be so different. It can be masks if you're in healthcare. It can be just hand sanitizer stations. It can be safety glass shields protecting you from customers. There's so many different things depending on the business, but really it comes down to making sure the employees are trained on physical distancing and proper hygiene measures. And then as an employer, making sure you understand by your industry what those requirements are to keep everyone healthy and safe, including mental health as well.
Yeah, things have looked very different around our studio the last 2 months, so I imagine those measures will still stay in place. Let's talk about the employees now. What if an employee still thinks it's too risky? What are their options?
So this is a little bit of a tricky one. So from a legal standpoint, absolutely, as long as the public health authority has given the go-ahead, you do have to come back to work if you're recalled, as long as your employer is following those safety guidelines and you don't have any pre-existing conditions that precludes you from going back into the workplace. However, I think it's so important that employers are sensitive, that people are scared to go back to work. So part of that's going to be educating employees, and part of it is also listening really well. And as an employer, if you don't believe or you know that your employer is not taking those safety steps that are necessary, I really encourage them to talk to your manager, talk to your HR department. And if you're not getting anywhere, you can absolutely call your local workers' compensation board, WorkSafe BC, and ask some of the questions in terms of what are your legal rights in terms of refusing work, or having your employer do an investigation to make sure that it truly is safe.
That's great advice. The other area of concern I've been hearing, Debbie, is now that a lot of people are working from home, a lot of people are enjoying it. A friend of mine, she says her productivity has never been better. She doesn't have to commute 2 hours a day. And what if she wants to continue working from home? Does she have to go back into the office?
That's such a good question, Marian, and we're actually seeing both sides of that almost equally. We see people whose homes were not set up to work from home, and they're managing off their kitchen table, and there's other people in their home, and they can't wait to get back to work. And then there's other people that have had a taste of remote work, and they love the flexibility and being able to be in comfortable clothes, and they don't want to go back into the office. And so there's a couple of things here. First of all, depending on your employment contract, really it comes down to the employer's decision on where the work will get done. And so even though temporarily you may have had different work agreements or work situations, ultimately you have to work with your employer to figure out the new normal. And I think most employers are probably going to end up with a blend of remote work and on-site work. But I encourage everyone to have one-on-one conversations with your business and to say to your boss, these are the reasons why I think I'm so productive at home. This flexibility helps us. And this is why it's ultimately going to help the business overall. And have a conversation about it, because ultimately it's not your decision to refuse to go back into the office. But I think having those conversations can go a long way to having a win-win relationship and work environment moving forward.
Great advice as always. Thank you so much, Debbie, for your time this morning. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me, Mary.
It is